We could do anything. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
Welcome to A-Train Bets. I'm the A-Train, and I make bets. And today we're going to talk about making bets on MMA, on UFC fights and MMA. And it's not actually the most complex thing in the world, but we're going to go through and just kind of cover some of the basics. And so, like we often do, and don't be overwhelmed at the screen, but I like to use OddsJam just because they have a good organization of the way they structure this stuff. If you're just trying to learn this betting, OddsJam is more sophisticated than you want to worry about in terms of what you actually use the tools for, maybe at some point. But for now, let's just look at what the core aspects are. So we're going to go to UFC, MMA, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the kinds of bets that you can make. So the bets at UFC, if you watch any of the other introductory videos on these different sports betting things, there's usually a whole bunch of different things that you can do. UFC is much simpler. It's basically like who's going to win the fight and how long's the fight going to last. And those are really the only two things that you're going to be looking at from a betting perspective. Now, you could do that over different time frames and whatever. We'll talk about that a little bit, but let's just look at some lines here, and we'll actually go through both of these. And so a money line is simply who is going to win the fight. So in this case, we're looking at a July 1st, 3 p.m. fight, and you have, let's look at this one. 5 p.m. fight, Weston Wilson, mostly just so you can see it. So I can always pull this off, and you'll see, you've got the team, you have best odds. This number is the rotation number. You've got best odds, you've got OddsJam algo odds, Pinnacle. These are just different books, right? OddsJam algo lines are worth noting because these are the lines that you're going to have if you were betting with a friend and that there were no sports books taking a little cut from it. If you were just you and a friend betting it, these are the true odds, the fair odds or no vig odds. So if you hear those terms, that's what it means. It means like this is what OddsJam has determined are the best odds. You don't always see these kinds of lines available, but it's a really useful reference if you want to know, okay, what is the real likelihood of something happening? You can understand that. And so you'll see them and they'll always be offsetting in the numbers. So plus 123 and minus 123. Occasionally they're one off due to the rounding, but that is how that goes. So let's look at this Weston Wilson and Joe Anderson Brito. Okay, so you have, and the reds and greens just mean that something's updated recently. Nothing to worry about. Let's look at DraftKings. So Weston Wilson at DraftKings is a huge underdog. So if you bet $10 and Weston Wilson wins this match, alliteration, wins this match, you'll win $85 on that $10 bet. By comparison, if you wanted to bet on Brito, you'd have to spend $140 to win that $10 bet, right? So the heavy favorite in that case. But that same bet, if you wanted to bet on Brito, you're probably better off going over to a Barstool and saying, or Bet Rivers and saying, I'll bet $125 to win $10. Whereas if you bet $10 on Wilson, you'd only win $75 over at Barstool. So you would have been much better off going to DraftKings. So that's where having multiple lines can help you say, hey, well, I just want to go make this play and at least go to the place that'll give you the most for it. And that's the key. You'll either risk less to win the same amount or you'll bet the same amount and win more. So it's really important to do that because the math's already, unless you're doing more advantage strategies, more sharp sports betting strategies that we do elsewhere, unless you're doing that, at least get the best price. Just like you would use a coupon or you'd go to the store where the thing that you want costs the least. Similar with sports betting, you want to go and be price sensitive, be more price sensitive than side sensitive. It's much more important to be aware, hey, where is the deal here? Say Barstool is the only place you can bet and you're not sure who to bet on. Well, you can tell one thing, and that is it's a better deal at Barstool to bet on Brito than it is to bet on Wilson. So if you don't know, at least bet the side that gives you the best deal. So at least to do that. So that's the kind of situation that you might want to look at. Now I want to bring up another screen before we bounce over to the total side. This is another way of looking at it that OddsJam has. You do not need to be a customer to see this screen, by the way. So you can go to oddsjam.com/UFC and you can see who's got the best lines on these things. Right. So the money line is what we were just looking at. This one is for Ivanov and Romanov. You can see peeking out behind me. The money line at Pinnacle is plus 117 and William Hill the money line is minus 130 on Romanov. So here you can bet $13 to win 10. Here you can bet $10 to win 1170. And so this is where it helps you without having to go through all the lines like we see on here. It'll just show you the best ones. So that can be useful, but chances are if you're just starting out, you might have one sports book, maybe two. And so that's where you might just find it easier to look at this and say, okay, well, who has the best lines and do I see a deal at this book that I want to bet some MMA? You know, maybe you're having a party, you want to have some action on the MMA fights. It's totally fine to bet for entertainment. Go and just look and see, okay, well, at my book that I have, you know, I have a Barstool account, for example. It's better in this case for Wilson and Brito to bet on Brito because you're getting a better deal than on Wilson. It's probably still not a positive expected value. It's probably not a profitable bet, but at least you're going to lose less. So if you don't know otherwise, go with that. So use that to your advantage more than just trying to say, well, I don't know Wilson or Brito. Let's flip a coin and guess and who we want to get. You know, so it's something worth considering and looking at. Now let's go and look at the totals for this. So you can see I'm going to click on the total rounds, and all this is, we have totals in many sports. And in UFC, it's about how long is the match going to last. And a lot of these matches are 3 rounds. And so what you're going to see is the over or under. So this 2.5 for, we'll look at Luana Carolina and Vana Petrovic. Over 2.5 rounds is what we're looking at here. And then similarly, like we just looked at the odds before, this is going to be $10 or $23.10 to win $10 or $10 to win $1.90. Again, they're showing you the best odds in this column, and you can look at the individual ones. There's only DraftKings and Pinnacle are available right now. So you can see Pinnacle or Penny and then DraftKings. So in this case, you're going to bet whether or not the fight's going to last more or less than 2.5 rounds. And so that's where you will have an ability to bet that total. So that in the MMA context or UFC context, totals are about the length of the fight as opposed to the score. There are no scores that are bet on, at least not regularly in this space. So pretty straightforward from that perspective, and can certainly be a fun thing to do if you are super into UFC or MMA and you're just now getting to a point where you're like, hey, it might be fun to bet on some of this stuff. It's fine. You know, and so you can certainly learn the odds and the totals and that stuff. That's a common concept that you're going to see. And we have other videos that cover all the kind of intricacies of what these mean, how they're calculated, and what they actually do. But you'll see, money line and totals in all sports almost. Like it's really common, and it just has its own little spin in each of the sports, which is why I'm doing these videos for these particular concepts, is because I think that it's important to just know in this particular sport, here's how it manifests. Here's what you're looking at. When you look at these screens, there's so many numbers all over. It's not easy. And a lot of the content out there, you just kind of assume, people all know that this stuff is there. No, everybody starts from scratch, and these numbers are different than anything else you see. Like sports betting numbers are not like normal math. It's not new math. It's just completely different than anything you've seen. Even if you have a financial industry background, even if you've done stock trading and investing in mutual funds forever, sports betting has a totally different numerical system that until you're taught it, you don't know it. And so that's what we're trying to do with some of these basics videos, where we can help you understand just here's how you look at the numbers here. Here's how you would make a bet on that. And then you can actually go and place a wager on that. And so in this case, why don't we just take a quick look, and I'll bounce over and I'll bring up on DraftKings. Let's just take a quick look. We'll go over to DraftKings and we'll just see, hey, what does it look like to bet on UFC? So I'm going to click on UFC, and let me take my face off on this one for a second so we can look at, here's a Romanov and Ivanov, and you can see we have an over under and we have a money line. So if I wanted to bet $13.50 on this money line for Romanov, I could. And I could just go in here and I would bet $13.50, and the payout would be $23.50, which would mean I would get the $10 plus the $13.50 that I had risked. And so that's how that would work. I'm not going to bet it right now because it's probably not a profitable bet, but it's good to know. And similarly, if I wanted to say bet $10 on a plus 165 on an under on the length of the fight, I could bet $10 on that. And again, I would get the $16.50 profit plus the $10 back in the payout. So at least it's pretty easy to see how that is. But that's exactly how betting at a sports book would translate to UFC and MMA. And so with that, that's about all I wanted to cover with this. If you enjoy this content, really do please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'm trying to bring as many new videos and content to you as I can. I do live streams of placing my positive expected value bets, my profitable bets, sharp sports bets, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Central Time and 4 p.m. Central Time most days. And on the weekends, I often get live streams in as well. It's where I show you putting in my bets and where I'm doing the most advanced stuff that I do to actually do that. You're welcome to come and join that and learn along with it. Plus, there's tons of other videos on the YouTube channel that will help teach you all of the intricacies, all of the things that I do. I'm a big believer that anybody can do this. You can just put some time into it, learn all of the learn and understand what's going on, and you can be a profitable sports bettor too. I really don't like all these people out there where they're like, oh, I have the magic brain that will tell you all of the magic bets to take, and you should pay me for my magic brain. No, it sounds a lot like a snake oil salesman, doesn't it? And so to me, it's about learning. It's about understanding the math. It's understanding how to make sports bets responsibly and then ultimately profitably and having some fun while doing it. And so please check out the other content, like and subscribe, check out my other links at atrainbets.com. And I wish you luck. Enjoy gambling first and foremost, and then do gambling smart, because you know what makes gambling enjoyable? Winning money. And we'll help you do that too. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on A Train Bets.